We are gathering for a very special discussion here in World Unity Week. It's day 5, a day dedicated to air in all of its dimensions. My name is Ben Bowler from Unity Earth, and I'm honored to be here for a very special discussion about Jesus. And it's very interesting because here in World Unity Week, we've been honoring, so many different aspects, so many different elements, nature, the natural world, the various spiritual understandings. And it's just wonderful to come together and have a really open discussion from both traditional and non-traditional perspectives of Jesus, this individual who's inspired billions of people for thousands of years. It's a great honor to be here with Gard Jameson and Gabriel Rimberg. So firstly, Gard and Gabriel, welcome. Welcome to World Unity Week and this roundtable. And this,
You.
Gabriel, this particular discussion is co-produced between Center for Unity, which is an organization that you steward. You're in Israel, but it's also a 501c3. It's an organization with the foundation to endure a millennium, lovingly serving the public and transforming the world as Jesus did by creating best-in-case experiences focused on his life and teachings. A billion souls reached is the vision for a Center for Unity. So wonderful to have you with us. And Gard Jameson, oh my goodness, you do so many things for so many different people and organizations. Let me just read a little bit for people who may not know Gard. Gard Jameson received his PhD from Pacifica Graduate Institute in 2005. He teaches Chinese and Indian philosophy in the philosophy department at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas. Prior to his tenure at that university, he spent 25 years practicing as a certified public accountant and financial planner in Piercy Bowler, Taylor and Kern, and Touch Ross. He is the author of 3 books, Footprints in the Sands of Time, the story of his mentor, Dr. Raymond M. Elf. Parthenon, Our Mythic Moment, an ancient Greek tale that illuminates our current predicament, and Monkey, Our Mythic Moment, the grand epic of China. God, you're doing so many different things. You're on the board of the Charter for Compassion, and you're serving many, many other organizations. You're another one of these polymath Renaissance people that are showing up on the planet at this time to make a huge difference. And you're going to be moderating our august panel today. So without further ado, over to you, Mr. Gard Jameson. Let's talk about Jesus.
Ben Bowler, thank you so much. And again, I think from all of us to you, my friend, thank you for creating this space in which we can talk about unity, in which we can talk about compassion, in which we can talk about a possible future. And for many of us, Jesus is a part of that, as is Buddha, as is Muhammad, as is Moses, as is so many of the great prophets. So I want to welcome you all to this gathering. It's an important week, and the word air, I'm thinking of Pentecost, as I'm sure some of my other participants are thinking of it, where there was a rush in the room and there was an incredible personal, deep personal experience of a presence in each of these lives, which created a transformation and a healing. And so we are blessed to be together today. How blessed we are when brothers and sisters dwell together in unity. And I would like to turn to my sister Brittany and have Brittany introduce herself briefly. And we'll go around, and if you're not a panelist, please stop your video so we can introduce the panelists, and then we will begin. And then after we begin, you can open up your video once more. So Brittany.
Well, thank you so much. I am so grateful to be here. And yeah, just so you guys know a little bit about me, my name is Brittany Shawley. I live in Ontario, Canada, and I have the mission of enhancing the quality of health and happiness on our planet. And I do that through my ministry, which is called Miracles of Mind. I'm also a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles. And so I offer those teachings through my YouTube channel. I also do my Living with Jesus series that I've been so blessed to interview many of you brothers, and I hope many of you more in upcoming times. But then I also have my company, Whole and Healthy Kitchen, that just really ties in my whole mission of enhancing health and happiness. So I feel blessed to be here and honored to be a voice for Jesus. And I'm really looking forward to sharing and hearing everybody's stories here today.
Will you call on somebody, Brittany?
Happily. Yes. Maybe Gabriel, maybe you can go next and kind of share a little bit and then we'll go from there.
We have two Gabriels. Do you mean Gabriel Rimberg?
Yeah. If he feels like he has anything else to share, I know he was already up there. If not, we can go to the other Gabriel.
Yeah, so my name is Gabriel Rimberg. I'm from Israel. What transformed my life is translating the Urantia Book from English to Hebrew. I didn't know anything about Jesus until I started reading that book. I basically was completely unaware of anything. And it took me many years to find my voice and find my calling, which is basically sharing his life story and teachings with the world in many different ways by creating experiences. And that's what the Center for Unity is all about. We have several projects that have the potential to reach basically everybody on this planet. And we think and feel that this will create unity because some of his teachings have to do with the fact that we're just brothers and sisters. So when everybody knows that and knows they're a child of God, that's what brings unity to this planet. So that's what we're doing. And I'll call on my compatriot and also the same name like myself, Gabriel Hagai.
Thank you, Gabriel. Hello to all. Shalom Aleichem wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Blessings. So I'm an Orthodox, Jewish Orthodox rabbi. It's not a mistake that I'm here neither. About Jesus, my link to Jesus is I will explain to it later, but I wrote a book in Italian 2 years ago about the Lord prayers. The Lord prayer is in English, and a rabbinical vision or angle about the Lord prayer. And I shall pass the mic to my friend Irina Morrison.
Thank you, Gabriel. Good morning, everyone from Brisbane, Australia. My name is Irina Morrison, and I'm part of Unity Earth and World Unity Week organizing team. I also teach yoga and meditation, and I'm also a holistic coach. I'm really happy to be here. I look forward to hearing everyone's stories and wisdom, and thank you so much for having me.
And Urantia, if you would pass it to somebody.
I will pass it on to Hezekiah Gabriel.
Hello, I am Hezekiah Gabriel. I am the Executive Director of Pathways to Peace. I also, for the past 40 years, have owned and operated a consulting firm called Gabriel Associates that works with nonprofit organizations. And in addition to that, I am an ordained minister, and I provide and conduct earth-based, multicultural, cross-cultural and interfaith ceremonies, as well as I have a healing practice called Empowering the Divine Within. I am absolutely thrilled to be here to take Jesus out of the closet and in our field of peace building. And when I think about air, I think it's just perfect for this conversation because in most indigenous cultures, including my own Celtic culture, the air symbolizes spirit and the company of heaven. And so I think given we're talking about Jesus today, that it's perfect that it falls within the direction of air. So thank you. And I am not sure, is it Patrick that is a speaker? I know we're getting down there. So
it is me.
yes, Patrick.
Thank you. I'm
It's
Patrick
you.
Carowin. I live in Connecticut, United States, on the land of the Quinnipiac Nation. I'm a lifelong activist, Catholic Franciscan activist, justice activist, currently a writer, speaker, storyteller, and just all around troublemaker. And so I'll pass it on next to Herrick. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, it is. Herrick Nielstein. Thank you. I am from Utah, United States, and I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I've also been heavily involved in the last 7 years in a nonprofit organization called the Hebraeus Foundation, and we operate the Isaiah Institute, and to help people to find Jesus through Isaiah's words. And I'm also work as a computer scientist for a genealogy company to help people find their family history. So that's me.
Eric, thank you. And let's see here. Is there anybody else that has not been called?
Eitan as well.
Yes.
Bring him up.
Okay, so my name is Eitan. I'm also from Israel. I don't really belong to any institution, but what I would say is that when I was 7, we studied Bible, the Old Testament at school. And I happened to have a book that had the New Testament as well, the same book. And I was reading it all along. Something drew me to read it. And I think since then until today, this is 60 years, I've been drawn to the life of Jesus, and especially to the Christ. And I think this is my belonging in this aspect.
That's beautiful.
So I will leave it, I will put it to Guy Perron. Are you part of the panel?
No, he isn't, but he's a dear friend from the Netherlands. And Guy, it's great to have you here, as well as all
I'm
the
happy
others.
to be here. Good to see you all.
We thank you. We thank you. So we're on a fairly tight schedule. Ben has created some wonderful space for us. And so, Eitan, I want to start with you and go backwards and ask the question, how has the figure of Jesus made a difference in your life?
Okay, well, the first thing that I would say is that I make a differentiation between Jesus and the Christ.
Yes.
In the way that I understand it, Jesus was a human being. That when he was 30, a Christ, which is a very high being, actually entered him and lived in him for 3 years. So I would say that the Christ changed my life in many ways. I don't have any specific sense about Jesus the man. I don't know much except what is written in the Testaments. But the Christ, I feel, was a unique occurrence on the face of this planet, that actually a God came down and lived through a human being, and especially passed through death, which is something the gods don't know about. They don't die. And I think this changed my life completely, because it made me understand that we can overcome death if we link ourselves to spirit.
Beautiful. Thank you for that sharing. And again, we're going to keep ourselves to 2 minutes, and Eric, we'll go to you in Utah.
Okay. Well, my journey to the Savior is when I was about 14. Religion was not we were regular church attenders, but my mother was heavily religious. My father was atheist, agnostic, and so I had that dichotomy growing up. And at age 14, I received quite a bit of resistance to religion, and it challenged what I believe. And for the first time in my life, I began to pray, actually listening for an answer. And in that listening, I also read from the New Testament, which I had not read before very much, and from the Book of Mormon. And as I would read about the life of Jesus Christ, I prayed, asking about what is true, and is this real? Is Christ real? And after several months, I felt, when I finally expressed a willingness to an open heart to do anything that the answer that would come, I felt an overwhelming and love that penetrated and changed me forever. And overnight, my mom tells me I was a different person. And from that point, at that age, tender age of 14, I have given my life to the Savior, and trying to hear the voice of Christ in my life, and serve others, and to be a blessing to as many as I can. And I've also been extremely blessed to learn about the prophet Isaiah in particular, and how, especially, for example, chapter 53, talking about the suffering servant, and how he exemplifies Jehovah as Jesus. So that's me. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Herrick. And Patrick, my Irish brother, I'm going to come to you.
Thank you. I actually am Irish. My parents are from Ireland originally. Well, for me to answer that question, I first have to ask, which Jesus are we talking about? I was raised traditional Catholic. I was raised and taught that to worship the crucified Jesus, the theology that Jesus died on the cross to save us from sin, the theology that taught that the sole purpose for Jesus was being the only reason for the incarnation was so that Jesus could die to appease an angry and jealous God, and therefore open the gates of heaven for us. Our whole purpose here on earth was to get to heaven. One of the most famous theologians, Thomas Aquinas, taught us that everything we do here is important only insofar as it helps us get to heaven. As I got older, I began to re-examine and question that theology. The whole idea seemed really absurd to me. And so as a lifelong faith justice activist, I questioned, was my activism only about me getting to heaven? What I did to help bring about the change and build a better world was important, but according to my faith, it was only important because it brought me closer to God. I then read a quote from the 13th century brilliant theologian, Franciscan theologian and philosopher, John Duns Scotus. And he wrote that the incarnation of the Son of God is the very reason for the whole creation. To think that God would have given up such a task had Adam not sinned would be quite unreasonable. I say, therefore, that the fall was not the cause of Christ's predestination, and that if no one had fallen, neither the angel nor man, in this hypothesis, Christ would still have come in the same way. When I read this, I began to understand that the incarnation had nothing to do with Jesus dying on the cross so we could go to heaven, but rather to connect us to each other and to all creation so that we can with God be co-creators of heaven here on earth. I understood, as St. Francis of Assisi did, that God was not out there somewhere, but that through Jesus, all creation is connected to each other. It's not about us being in right relationship with God, which we do by going to church or meditation or holding our hands a certain way, but rather it's about all of us being in right relationship with all of creation. And then and only then will we be in right relationship with God.
Thank you so much. And Hezekiah, my beautiful sister.
Thank you. I love following that. So my simple answer is that Jesus has transformed my life in every way possible. When I was 21 years old, I had a mystical experience with Jesus that forever altered and transformed my life. And the circumstances around that were that I was 21, I was pregnant with my third child, and I was impoverished, and I was with a partner that was very unkind. And I had experienced an abusive situation. I had no idea where to go and what to do. I felt like I would have taken my life had I not been pregnant with my child. And so I went to our local rural pastor, who didn't know what to say or do, but did tell me to go home, get on my knees and pray. And that is what I did. I was immediately lifted up by Jesus. My whole life was played out before my eyes in seconds. And everything changed in a moment. And what I mean by that is everything that wasn't in alignment with my soul was shown to me. And in the blink of an eye, in the most amazing feeling of love, everything changed. And I came out of that vision, and I was a changed person. So since that time, I've experienced an ongoing, very personal and dynamic relationship with Jesus. Sometimes my downloads of information from Jesus are really funny, sometimes lighthearted yet impactful, sometimes a kick in the pants when I've needed it, yet always enlightening and always excruciatingly loving. The sages tell us that there are 3 ways to connect with the divine. One is prayer, where we're talking to God. Another is meditation, where God talks to us. And the third is conversation. Jesus and I are in direct conversation. And at other times, he comes into my dreams. And my dreams with Jesus are often funny and always inspiring. My friends have called my dream series with Jesus, the Jesus Chronicles. And they can light up a room with their hilarity. Jesus as a soda shop clerk, Jesus as a cop, Jesus as a doctor. In every way possible, Jesus has shaped and informed everything about me, how I perceive the world, how I relate to others, my purpose for being here. Most of all, he's opened my heart to remember who I am and the power of love as the greatest transformative energy in the universe.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hezekiah. Wonderful testimony. And Gabriel, Haggai, could you share how Jesus has influenced your life?
You jumped, Irina.
Yes, I'm coming back to her.
Okay, so I must say, like the other panelists, that there are many aspects of many Jesuses. There's the man Jesus, who is was a fellow rabbi, a fellow spiritual rabbi, a saint, and there's the spiritual figure of Jesus that you guys call Christ. And as a Jew, as a rabbi, I'm very familiar with the man, the Jewish man, the Jewish rabbi Jesus. But I must share 2 experiences I had with the Christ figure. The first one was I took communion. My first communion, I took it from a friend who is a monk and a priest. It was at the Interfaith Spiritual Retreat in France. And it was just like less than 10 years ago. And so I took communion for the first time because it was an open table and it was very inclusive. So, and I had a very deep mystical experience. I experienced Christ as the spiritual figure. I mean, this aspect of God, which is light and love. And so that was my first, if you want, real meeting with this Christ-like figure that exists in Christianity. And my second meeting with Christ was in a town called Manopello in South Italy, where there's a veil of called the veil of Manopello, which has the face of Christ, of Jesus on it. It has been imprinted on it at the time of Jesus' death and resurrection. It's after the shroud of Turin. Turin is the dead Jesus, and the veil of Manopello is the awakened Jesus. So it's you see the image of Jesus with his open eyes, and it's a very like a hologram piece, and it is it is kind of a miracle, you know, this image. And so as a mystical person, I always say miracles are not limited by any religion. Miracles are just manifestation of Godhead, and it's for all humankind. So as a Jew and as a rabbi, I very much like embrace the beracha, the benediction of this miracle as other Christian miracles. And I went to Lourdes in South France and drank the water there that the Virgin Mary was there. I mean, anyway, so I'm kind of, from my mystical tradition, we are very into this oneness and everything, and God shows herself, itself everywhere. And so the figure of Jesus as Christ was for me a great blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. And I think we're learning as we go along here that Jesus is bigger than Christianity. And Irina, could you share your experience?
Thank you. So to begin, I'll share a little story, and I assure you it's quick. When I was about 5 years old, I was being looked after my great-grandmother, who was very religious and an active member of local church. And she was often telling me these stories about Jesus and reading from the Bible. And one day, a priest from her church came to our home to interview me for the church paper, as my great-grandmother was always bragging how much her 5-year-old great-granddaughter knows about Jesus. So needless to say that my mom wasn't happy about the whole thing, and especially when she saw the article. But I just want to mention this as my first interaction with Jesus and knowledge about Jesus. And that was really the only religious education that I received growing up, which I hardly remember. Fast forward to my late 30s, I was driving one afternoon and I felt this sudden wave of bliss, joy, and love flooding my entire being. I looked up and to the sky, and I saw a man figure. It looked like a hologram sort of thing, and it felt like my entire being was elevated again. Somehow I knew that is a spirit or spirit energy of Christ. So from then on, I have felt this presence numerous times. It's just that deeper knowing that you don't doubt, you simply know that that's what it is. So that initial experience opened my awareness to a completely different dimension, but the continuous presence of the spirit of the Christ, the energy of the Christ, led me to learn the embodiment of this consciousness and how it raises my vibratory rate and accelerates my spiritual evolution. And of course, with the spiritual growth comes many transformation on many levels and multiple times. But I think that the main point to make is the awareness and the realization that there is the presence, the Christ energy, which we are able to connect to at any time.
Irina, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. And we're learning here that this is all about a personal spiritual experience. Nothing less, dogma, belief, nothing less than that personal experience can transform us. And so Gabriel Rimberg, share with us a little bit of your experience.
I think mine starts before Jesus was Jesus and continues to this day with who he is. And the way I learned about who Jesus is, even before he came to this planet, is through the Urantia Book. So I was translating it and reading it many times. And I basically understood the simple fact that according to the Urantia Book, Jesus is the creator of this universe. so in my mind, I understood that, but it took me several years until a very particular experience that was facilitated by my sister here, Diane. She organized the first trip that she organized for Urantia readers in the Holy Land. And we were fortunate enough to be baptized in the Jordan River by a minister. And I think after that baptism, what I felt is that my life is dedicated to this being. Intellectually, I understood that if Jesus was a man on earth, and before he was a man on earth, and after he is the creator of this universe, then it's a no-brainer. Like, okay, what is it that I'm going to do with my life? So I finished translating the Urantia Book, and then a series of other things arrived, which basically are the things I'm working on today, to which I dedicate my life. So my entire life was transformed by the Urantia Book, and then all the other things that I'm engaged in. My beautiful wife is right here beside me, and she also arrived to my life through this wonderful experience. So thank you, Diane, for organizing this. Thank you, Jesus, for changing my life. And now I'm in the phase where I'm actually starting. I've studied a little bit with somebody who works with A Course in Miracles. So I'm basically learning how to work with Jesus, how to work with the Spirit of Truth, which is the manifestation of Jesus or Christ, and letting it be a more integral part of my everyday life. You know, asking questions, getting guidance. But I know that my mission on this planet until I draw the last breath is to share these stories, his life and his teachings. They have transformed my life, and I think they have the potential to transform many other lives.
Gabriel, thank you so much. And hugs to Sandra, your dear wife, who is a manifestation of the Christ. And Brittany.
Hello. Beautiful. Okay, so there's so much when it comes to Jesus. So my story with him, I would say, began when I was in my last year of university. So I was early 20s as well as Utah's. And up until that point, I was not religious at all. I was not raised in a religious home, not even a spiritual home. So I didn't read the Bible, couldn't even say Jesus. It was very foreign for me. But I had my first spiritual awakening, I call it, when my school was on strike for 16 weeks. And I had to decide, like, what is my life here for? You know, and all I really noticed was that I was just suffering. I was unhappy. I was overweight, just everything. And I knew I needed an answer. So that was my first time that I opened up to a power greater than myself. And the answer that was given me was love, like trust love, follow love, be love, all will come into accord. I'm like, okay, I could do this. So that led me to immediately be of service and start my mission and be a life coach. And within the first year of being a life coach, I just started noticing that this is like an ask and receive universe. And so I just started asking for bigger and bigger things. And I ended up asking to go to Hawaii. Someone reached out to me and asked if I wanted to put on a workshop there. So of course I said yes. And it was there in Hawaii on the beach where I had my first direct, intimate, and personal relationship with Jesus. And the message that he gave all of us that day was that we are anchors of love and light on this planet. And I was told personally that if I follow him and I trust him, that he will help me to bring salvation to the world. And I didn't know what that meant really, except that this presence and this power was so out of this world and so personal and so close that I devoted my whole entire self to it. And I said yes to Jesus. And I just welcomed him into my heart and mind. And as soon as I got home from this trip, I'm like, wow, my whole world's changed. Like, now what? And that was at a point where I just continued to ask and pray. I was like, okay, you said you would show me, so show me what's going on. And within a week, that's when my now husband showed up, my holy partner in life and work. And he brought with him the sparkly A Course in Miracles that had Jesus written on the front cover. And as soon as I saw that, I just held it to my heart and I was like, this is it. Like, this is his promise. He said he would be with me. This is like my manual, like my way to really learn how to hear him and trust him and follow his guidance. And from that moment onward, I've dedicated myself totally to him. I've dedicated myself totally to God's will and my part in it. And I've dedicated myself entirely to learning and studying and teaching the principles of A Course in Miracles. And I really feel like the transformation that took place was, first of all, like an inner one. Like the way I saw myself, the way I saw my world, the way I saw God, the way I just saw my function, my purpose here was completely anew and completely centered in just certainty and faith and trust and joy. Joy is like the mark of this whole thing for me. And the underlying of that is peace. And then just knowing that he is with me just is so much comfort. And then I get to see him everywhere and all my brother and sister souls around the planet, and how he's just showing up for everyone in their personalized individual way, but that just points to the unity of everything. And so everything has changed because of him. I'm grateful to him for everything. And he's the one who brought me here today. So I'm grateful, really, really grateful.
Brittany, thank you so much. And I would like to share with everyone, if you have any questions of any of our panelists, please type them into everyone. And we all love to see the questions. And our panelists will respond. Our time is fairly tight. We're going to close in about 45 minutes. I want to share with you an acronym. I like acronyms, Gabriel knows. The acronym is: you must be mad to be here. Motivated by love, activated by unselfish service, and dominated by supreme values: truth, beauty, goodness. So I want to congratulate each and every participant for being mad. And I will share a quick story. So it was 1971. A friend of mine, Lee Benjamin, was on patrol in Vietnam. 3 children, each with hand grenades in their hands, approached his battalion. And at the end, his battalion they were all dead. The children were lying in their blood, and Lee had his leg blown off. And so I was in my aunt and uncle's home. They had gone away. I turned off all the lights and I said, Jesus, if you're anywhere close, I need to know, and I need to know now. And every fiber of my being was filled with the fire of love. And I think each of you have given testimony to that kind of experience somewhere along the line in your life. And so what we begin to learn is that the very fabric of the universe is love. And our planet is seriously misaligned with that fabric. And so each of you are heroes, and all of us who are here today are doing what we can to bring this planet back into alignment, which relates to Ben Bowler and his fabulous team, Irina and everyone, of how Jesus might play a role in bringing unity to our planet. And so I'm going to go back the other way around. So Brittany, I'm going to start with you. And how is Jesus going to help us out of this hole that we're in?
It's a good question. It's an important question. Okay, so the way I have come to see like Jesus's role in unity, like I said, the language I use, like the restoration of unity and peace on our planet, like how is he going to go about this? The way I see it is that Jesus is the head of the atonement. And to me, the atonement is the at-one-ment, or the one mind, the one love you're speaking of, the one self that is gathered here today. And so I feel like he goes about that in 2 particular ways. One is obviously like he was the demonstration of total and perfect love, the demonstration of total forgiveness, and the demonstration of eternal life. And so I feel like with that demonstration, we have a brother, we have a teacher, we have a friend that lights the way and shows us the way. And so because of that, I feel like he saved us so much time. And he's really helped us to know what to kind of emulate here as a Christ-centered, a heart and love-centered being. So that's first of all. But then second of all, I feel because he's the head of the atonement, that he is also still here with us and he hasn't left us. Right? And so in that respect, I feel like he has a personal influence in every single one of our minds, lives, hearts, actions here on this planet. So for me personally, I found that he helps me not only as being the model of how to live life on earth, but also how to learn how to train my mind to hear the voice of love, to receive that guidance, to trust that guidance, and then ultimately act on that guidance and bring it to the planet. So I feel like we can learn, it's a process of learning like we learn any skill on this planet, but we can learn how it is to hear his voice and let him guide us in this plan for peace. Let him guide us in this plan for unity, because he knows the plan. He wants to relay the plan to us, and each and every single one of us, not even just us on this planet in this panel, but everyone on this planet has a part to play in the plan for peace, and he wants to tell us what that is. So to me, that's how I go about it, the demonstration and then the personal direct relationship that we can learn to cultivate with him personally. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Brittany. And my brother, Gabriel.
I'm like Eric, I'm a computer scientist, so my life is very simple. So I look for the simple stuff. To me, the way this will happen is, I spend a lot of time thinking and meditating about this. If I wake up in the morning and I manage to treat every person, including myself, like my brother, in thought, in deed, in action, in words, in basically in every way, like my brother, I have one brother in the flesh, but I've got many brothers and sisters not in the flesh, spiritual brothers and sisters. If I manage to treat everybody like that, our planet will not look the way it looks right now. Every aspect of our lives will be different. So I just try to practice this simple truth that Jesus basically taught us. He said, we are all children of the same Father God, Father, Mother God, and hence we are brothers and sisters. So if we actually manage to do that and to live our entire lives as individuals and as teams and as groups and as societies like that, we will be united, even though we are not ever going to be uniform. There's going to be people of all colors and all races and all religions and all languages, and that's okay. We don't have to think alike and look alike and do the same things to be united. We just have to treat each other like brothers and sisters. So that's my simple practice.
Beautiful. Yes, gardens are beautiful, aren't they, with all their flowers? And Gabriel Haggai, could you share with us your insight?
Well, I do believe in the power of prayer. You know, I think the answer is, of course, love, kindness, compassion, and so on and so on. But I do think that Jesus taught us something. It's the power of prayer. And so I would like, you know, as a mystics, you know, we kind of think outside and we don't think. So I just want to share some, like, an experience. Just share the Lord prayer, the original in the Galilean accent, if you mind. Avon devishmaya las qadda shamach tise malakusach lehewa savyanach echanno devishmaya of ba'ar'a hablan lahmod sunqanan yomana wajvoq lan حوين أي خنود of حنان شبقا لا حيوين ولا ثعل لنا لا نسيون إلا فصا من بيشا مطول ذي الأخي ملبوثة وحيلة وسجبحتا لعالم عالمين آمين. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. So beautiful. Irina.
Thank you. That was amazing. I feel that the presence of Christ, the energy, the spirit that we've been talking about, is an invitation to choose spiritual evolution as much as we choose material and technological evolution, to let go of all limitations on all levels, letting go of the idea of a chosen few. We are all chosen, and therefore we must stand in unity. When humans open to their full awareness and spiritual heritage, they easily perceive deceit, unkindness, and injustice. And therefore, we would see a world of integrity, compassion, and cooperation, all that Jesus as a person was teaching. So spiritual awakening is what Jesus as a person began to prepare us, but it's up to us where we go from here, and it always has been.
Beautiful. Thank you, Irina. Hezekiah.
Thank you, Irina. That was so beautiful. For me, the name Jesus Christ says it all. You cannot separate out Jesus, the man, from the God he embodied. They are one and the same. I believe that the reason he is universally revered as a prophet and ascended master in so many sacred traditions is because he embodied that joining of human with God. Jesus, the man with Christ consciousness. He taught and modeled that all of us are both human and divine. Many, many times he said, I am not doing anything that you cannot do. And he came to really heal humanity from this mad idea. I'm using that word mad for you guys. This mad idea that we can be separate from God, which of course we know we cannot. He came to deliver that message and to model that. And it's taken over 2,000 years for humanity to be able to hear it. And so when we finally allow ourselves to accept what we already know, that we are divine, we can know unity and be conscious of our oneness with all that is. So we need to finally hear and accept that message. It's only taken us 2,000 years, but we know in our hearts, we know that truth. And when we accept that message, and accept our own truth that each of us is both human and divine, there will be no war no more. And as has been said in the chat, we will co-create heaven on earth.
Wow, I don't know about you all, but my heart is quivering. I love this. Patrick.
So it's difficult to follow what everyone has said. So I'll just say that I agree with what everyone has said. I thought it was really wonderful. But for me, I think it's about understanding that everyone I see, everyone I encounter is connected to the one. And I hope that I live my life so that everyone that sees me sees Jesus. And everything, every creature, every person I see, I can see and recognize Jesus. When we get to that point, then we'll get to the point of where we're in heaven. And I also wanted to follow up on Gabriel's chant, which is just so beautiful. Thank you for that. It says in the Our Father, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We kind of forget that whole part. And, I often ask people as an activist, do you think Jesus would find it acceptable that children are living in garbage dumps while other people are living in mansions? If we truly believe in the oneness of each of us and all of us, and that we're all connected, why would we want to have guns to kill each other? So I think what Jesus brings to us is that connectedness of all of us. And it's not just us as humans, it's all creation. I'm reminded of when St. Francis of Assisi would often go out and preach the gospel to the birds and to the trees. And people would ask him, today he'd be locked up and told he was crazy, but then people asked him why he was doing that. And he said, God told me to preach the gospel to my brothers and sisters, and these are my brothers and sisters. And he wasn't saying that as some hokey Dr. Doolittle talk to the animal. He truly believed that all of creation was his brother and sister. That's where we have to come to, and that's where Jesus brings us to.
Beautiful, Patrick. Thank you. Eric.
So I am so grateful for all that's been shared, and the spirit that's been here is just wonderful. How can Jesus, how will he change the world? I think he does it, he's speaking to us each all the time. And I think as the voice of the conscience of all people. All that is good, all that is light, it comes from him. And that he, as we yield ourselves to his voice, the voice of the Good Shepherd, as he says, that he invites us to love and to expand our love to all others, and to have a higher level of consciousness, a conscious awareness, and that oneness is infectious. So as we share that, it is spread with to many others, and they feel that love, his love through us. And I had an experience where I lived in two years in Tokyo, Japan, to talk about Jesus Christ with others, and as a volunteer missionary. And it was such an amazing experience to learn another culture. And it wasn't until love was my only motive that I started to feel that connection with everyone. And it didn't matter if they didn't want to, talk about it, because I was just there to love and serve them. And it was such a transformative experience. And he led me to find people that did want to talk about Jesus in the middle of Tokyo. So it was an amazing experience to across all cultures, all languages. Love is absolutely universal. So.
Arigato.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Eitan.
Okay, well, I am the last one, so many good stuff has already been said. I've tried to look at it from my point of view. I see the role of the Christ first in turning this planet from a cosmos of wisdom to a cosmos of love. We have a lot of wisdom, especially in technology, not enough love. So this is one. I also feel that the existence of Christ, and I agree with, I don't remember whom, but somebody said that he is here now. It's not something that happened. It's still alive. And this allows us to, what I feel is to overcome evil. And we need to see that evil is not they, evil is in us. And the existence, the fact of the Christ allows us to actually be able to overcome it. We need to work for it, but it's possible. Without the influence of the Christ, I think this would not have been possible because of what happened many times ago in the beginning of humanity and what was put into humanity, which we still suffer from it until today. So this is second thing. And the third thing, I mentioned it before, is the fact that the Christ overcame death, which is something very special. We are the only beings in the whole universe that suffer death. And the fact that a God actually agreed to go inside a human flesh and go through death and overcome it after 3 days allows us the possibility not to terminate not only our physical body, but our soul lives and spirit life by death. For me, this is giving non-stop hope. And this leads to unity. If we can all overcome evil and death in ourselves, we'll be united.
So beautifully said. So I just returned from Plum Village, the home of Thich Nhat Hanh, and we had a week retreat. And during the experience, they would have clocks and bells would go off on the quarter hour or half hour, and the whole village would stop and just breathe in love and breathe out peace, and then go on their way. And so I'm looking at my brother Gabriel here, there's a contemplative mystical practice that's required in this moment. I'm in relation with a wonderful rabbi in the Netherlands named Rabbi Sodendorp. And Rabbi Sodendorp suggests that we are living in the holy decade, that there must be more change in this next 10 years than there has been in all recorded history. Just because of what Patrick is suggesting, that there are thousands and thousands of people who are sleeping on streets. There is genocide going on amongst us. There is prejudice, bias, and bigotry everywhere we turn. So I have learned, dealing with that shadow side, which is so important in the practice, that whenever I get triggered, it's like one of those bells at Plum Village. Stop. Breathe in love, breathe out peace. And so I'd like to ask now, as we sort of come to a close, is if each of you would share, because I do believe we are living in a precarious moment, a holy decade in which great change must be required. But what would be your gift to the audience here and to each other of what you would encourage us to be doing on a daily basis to accelerate the presence of Christ on the planet? So I'm going to start with you, Eitan, and then come back around.
Okay. Well, I would like to say two things. One is that we need to agree that we need to learn to love. This word is kind of used all around, but it needs learning. And until a person agrees that he needs to actually learn to love, not much will happen. And the second thing, I would like to say that in order to love, one must go through darkness, through the darkness in oneself. But it's impossible to go into this, we have the light and everything will be wonderful and nothing needs to happen anymore. It's all will happen. No, I believe that one needs to look darkness in the eye and overcome it. And it's a lifetime process. So this is what I would say.
Thank you. That's a gift. Herrick.
Yes, I think a practice that would bless others is to overcome the feeling of separateness and to know that Christ and God are with us always, Emmanuel, God with us. And the more that we overcome our unbelief and all the limiting beliefs that we have about others and about ourselves, and that the more oneness that we feel, that we realize is in reality, will transform, and also that we really make a decision to reconcile ourselves with the will of God. I think His will is so vast, and what He would have us do with our lives is so much more than we could do on our own. And to relinquish that control, or the perception of control of our own lives, and to yield to Him. And He opens all these doors and connects with amazing people like all of you. And that connectiveness and that love is so divinely orchestrated. And if it's like an orchestra, and if we play with the music, with the conductor, right, then our lives join in that incredible music. So.
Beautiful, Eric. Thank you. My brother Patrick.
So I think we have to reimagine our sacred stories. We have to sort of understand that, our sacred stories didn't end 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. Every moment of each of our lives is a sacred story. And we have to go about our life thinking that every moment of our life is a sacred story. And in reimagining our sacred stories, we often talk about evolution, and yet we separate that from our sacred story. And I think we have to look at evolution as our sacred story, the whole book of evolution as our sacred story. It's not some separate, and this is what Teilhard taught us, and today Ilia Delia teaches us. And the last thing I would say is I'd leave you with a question that my very dear friend and co-conspirator Brian McLaren often asks: do you think Jesus came with a building plan or an evacuation plan? because most of our Christian theology is based on an evacuation plan, and everything Jesus talked about was a building plan.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Hezekiah.
Again, I love that story, that quote, Patrick. Oh my goodness, what kind of gift would I leave? Well, my own theology is that we already know everything we need to know. We just need to remember. We need to remember who we are. We need to remember that we can never be separate from God. We need to remember our own divinity. And of course, what that carries with it is responsibility, but it's the kind of responsibility that feels joyful. We take action out of that place of gratitude and knowing who we are, and that our life here is really to learn who we are, because we were created to co-create with God or divine source. And so for me, I would give a couple, just look at what kind of daily practice is going to keep you in that divine loving energy. For me, because I have a very busy life and I'm in constant communication, that for me, I begin my day with remembering a mantra to remember to bring love into every interaction. And I know when I do that it changes not only me, but everyone around me, and lifts the entire planet around peace consciousness. I also have an exercise that's very effective that was channeled to me, and it has to do with Moses's staff, actually. And it is that to go to the mountaintop in your mind, whatever it is you're struggling with, let's say powerlessness, unworthiness, that you go to the top of the mountain so you can see as far as you can see on the horizon. You see that you have the Moses staff in your right hand, and you use the name of God, which is I am, and you command a shift for yourself. So I am powerful, and you slam that staff to the ground. And in your mind's eye, you do that until you feel that shift, because we need to be whole, healthy, and aware of our connection to all that is to be able to do our work on the planet. So that's what I would give as a gift. There are so many others, but find something that works for you that will keep you in that transformative energy of love. Thank you.
Beautiful. Hezekiah, thank you so much. What a gift you are. Irina.
I'll continue from Tez and say, yes, the embodiment of Christ consciousness, practice of compassion, integrity, cooperation, to stay in that awakened consciousness, states of mastery and enlightenment, whilst we still walk the earth in human body, to be love, because when we are love, we can't be anything else. We can't be hate. We can't be judgment. Love is the purest form of being.
Beautiful. Thank you. Gabriel.
Yeah, for me, the most important practice is to put love into action, meaning that it's to be in service of all humankind and creation. I mean, with no differences, we are all one. We are all united into, we are all into God's nature, and we are all united into God's love. Let's say, to be simple, and so nothing is more important than serving the other. And there's no the lesser the being you help or you serve, the greater the service is, because when you serve someone else, you serve God, and God is hidden in mysterious places. So there shouldn't be any limits. Whatever comes to you, you serve, and that's my daily practice every day. And I pray that I'll be of service all my life.
Thank you, Gabriel. I will be reaching out to you. And Gabriel Rimberg.
I think the one thing that I'm devoted personally doing is what I said before, is trying to see everybody as a sister, as a brother, and behaving like that. But what really excites me is the life of Jesus is full and replete with examples of things that he actually did and said and taught. And for the last 70 years, we have on this planet a source, which is like the director's cut of the Gospels. It fills in many of the details that were either not written or omitted for the last 2,000 years. So now we can actually portray the entire life of Jesus, all of it, everything. His relationship with his mom, his friends, his siblings, what happened when he was young, all the lost years. We have a resource like that on this planet. And how wonderful would it be if you could walk into a venue near you and actually see all that in action, or go online on a computer and go into a website that will demonstrate all this to you. Or if you are fortunate, come to Israel and we'll host you and take you to the Jesus Museum. So our team, and many of our team members are here on this panel, is dedicated to sharing Jesus, sharing everything about him, so that like we were all transformed and many people before us, we want to bring this gift in as much detail and as much richness as possible to the world. So that's what I do most of my day.
Gabriel, thank you. And last but not least, my sister Brittany.
Okay, so many beautiful things that have already been shared. But I feel like the final messages that are coming through today that might be most practical and helpful are, one, for me, I really focus on mind training and learning how it is that I can listen to the spirit over my ego. That's kind of the language that I give it. And I found for me that the most helpful tool for mind training is starting my day right. So when I wake up in the morning, before I turn off the alarm, even before I get out of bed or brush my teeth, I decide for God. Like today, God, use me. I'm here for you. Bring me to whoever may be blessed today. Like, thank you, use me. I'm of service to you and my brothers and sisters. So first things first is I decide for God. And I find if I do not decide for God in the morning, it's far too easy for the little ego to sneak in and do its thing. So in the morning is like my time to commune, to decide, to hand my will over to God and to Jesus to use me each day. And then the second part of that is, Gabriel, you touched a lot on this with your sharing before, but to me, the golden rule is the most practical tool that we can use, that I want to see my brother as myself. I want to know my brother as myself. I want to love my brother as myself. And as I give to you, I will receive. So giving and receiving are the same. The golden rule is just a nugget of practical simplicity that we can use and apply in all situations, no matter where we are. So those would be the two concluding tools that I would offer today.
It's so beautiful, Brittany. Thank you so much. And again, as part of the Charter for Compassion, I encourage each of you to think about your communities, how you can bring compassion. Believe it or not, I live in Las Vegas and we have Compassionate Las Vegas. We have 5 areas, Patrick: homelessness, mental health, social justice, education. We have these areas and we are focusing, we're drilling down and we're doing what we can in service. So I will conclude by just sharing that, for me, every morning, like you, Brittany, I wake up asking that question, and I engage in a practice I was taught by Thomas Keating called centering prayer, where I'm able to enter the silence. And as Rumi said, silence is God's primary language. And in that silence, I experience the reciprocity of love that moves between me, my heart, and God. And in that love, I'm inspired. And out of that love, I come into the world with a desire to serve. And with that service comes, if you will, the fullness of the experience of that love. So again, these are tough times. This is a difficult moment. This is the Holy Decade. So I encourage each of you to look for venues, ways in which you can be of service in your community collectively and individually. And I would close now, Ben, with your permission, with a prayer that actually, I'm so glad, Gabriel, you shared the Lord's Prayer, but I would share this prayer, Eitan, which was the prayer that Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane before the day of his death. And he prayed, and now my Father. So let's just take a moment to quiet our hearts. And now, my Father, I would pray not only for these 11, but also for all others who now believe or who may hereafter believe the good news of the kingdom through the word of their future ministry. I want them all to be one, even as you and I are one. You are in me and I am in you. And I desire that these believers likewise be in us, that both our spirits indwell them. If my children are one as we are one, and if they love one another as I have loved them, all people will then believe that I came forth from you and be willing to receive the revelation of truth and glory, which I have made. Amen. Amen. Thank you all.
Amen.
Ben, back to you, brother.
Wow. Well, thank you. There's the nine that we have here, Team Jesus. Thank you so much, God. Thank you for facilitating that so beautifully. And thank you to every one of our panelists. Gabriel Rimberg, thank you for your co-creation of this event, talking about Jesus. Let's talk about Jesus. What a rich, beautiful, touching conversation from many perspectives. And I think, just widening this conversation to include more and more perspectives will be the work over these 99 days of Peace Through Unity. Perhaps we can reconvene in Peace Week afresh and anew, and add some Muslim brothers and sisters and some Sikh brothers and sisters and some Buddhist brothers and sisters to the table here as we go forward in this universal. What I loved so significantly here is the personal touching the universal. And as everybody has shared so authentically, your own personal experience, and as we've listened so respectfully to the diversity of experiences in a welcome, safe space, we start to get a little closer to what infinite, eternal, and universal actually mean. So thank you. I'm really grateful to you, Rabbi Gabriel Haggai, for stepping in here late at night from Paris, and to everybody sharing. It was absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Eitan. Thank you, Herrick. Thank you, Patrick, the incarnation. And really that I'm left feeling that as potent and powerful as Jesus may be, that he needs you. He needs us to do this work in the world. So thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Tez, for your beautiful insights. Arena, sister, beautiful to hear you talking about your journey. And yes, Jesus is out of the closet, so that's a good thing. So thank you, everybody, for this, and stay with us. We have more to come. Good night to you, Gabrielle. God bless, and on we go. Thank you, friends. Bye for now.